Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a really close look at something that sounds pretty abstract, maybe a bit dry, economics, policy, but it actually hits really close to home for everyone. We're talking tariffs, trade wars, and that very powerful idea of made in America.
Yeah.
Our mission here is simple. Cut through the noise, get to the core of it, and figure out what it all really means for you.
Exactly, because while you hear these terms on the news, maybe Washington or Beijing seem far away, these decisions, they land right in your wallet, they affect what you can buy, how much it costs, even the job market. So yeah, we're peeling back the layers today, getting into the real world stuff.
Okay, so let's dive right in then. Tariffs. We hear that word constantly. For our deep dive, let's just quickly nail down what we mean. What is a tariff, fundamentally?
Right, so at its simplest, it's a tax. Just a tax that gets put on products or materials that are imported, brought in from other countries. Think China, Mexico, Vietnam, wherever.
Okay, a tax on imports.
Yeah.
But the key question, I guess, is who actually pays that tax in the end?
Yeah, and that's the crucial part for, well, for you listening. That cost, it almost always gets passed down the chain. So the company importing pays the tariff, but then they usually build it into their price, meaning you, the consumer, end up paying more for those goods. It's pretty direct.
We definitely saw a lot of that recently, didn't we?
Yeah.
The last few years saw some major tariffs put on things like Chinese steel,
Oh,
electronics.
yeah. And even things like washing machines, remember? That was a big one.
Washing machines, right. It
Yeah.
felt like a really big shift in policy at the time.
It absolutely was. And what's kind of surprising, or maybe not, is that while a few were rolled back, a lot of those tariffs, they're actually still in place, which leads to this ongoing argument among economists. Did it work? Did this idea of economic protectionism, using tariffs to protect U.S. jobs and keep money here, did it actually do what it was supposed to?
Well, because you saw mixed results, right? Like
Yeah.
some industries, maybe steel producers, they said, yeah, this helped us temporarily at least.
There were some reports like that, yes. Some temporary bumps for certain sectors.
But then you immediately heard about, well, kind of chaos for companies that depend on parts from all over the world, those global supply chains.
Exactly, and that's where it gets really messy.
Yeah.
Because the impact wasn't even at all. Different businesses felt it in completely different ways. It wasn't a one-size-fits-all kind of policy outcome. That's really key.
Yeah, you hear stories, and you see the numbers too, about smaller businesses really feeling the squeeze from all this.
Mhm.
Can you give us a sort of real-world picture of what that looks like for, say, a smaller company?
Absolutely. Let's take maybe a small business that imports custom furniture parts,
Yeah.
maybe from Vietnam.
Mhm.
We've seen examples where their shipping costs for just one container doubled in just 2 years.
Right.
Doubled.
Double it.
And that's not just the tariff itself, right? It's like layers upon layers. You've got the tariff, okay, but then add in the aftershocks from the pandemic, the ports being clogged up, new rules and regulations, plus just general political instability messing things up. It's like someone described it as trying to play Monopoly during an earthquake. The board keeps shaking.
That's a good analogy. And that shaking board, it seems like the bigger players can handle it better.
For sure. Big companies, they have more options. They've got leverage to negotiate bulk shipping deals, maybe absorb some costs temporarily, or crucially, they might have the resources to just shift production. Okay, Vietnam's expensive now. Let's look at India or Mexico. They have that flexibility.
But the little guy doesn't.
The small business, they often get stuck. They're facing these horrible choices like, do I jack up my prices and risk my customers going elsewhere? Or do I eat the cost myself, which just kills my profit margin? And that means maybe slower growth, maybe not hiring that extra person, and frankly, a lot more stress and burnout for the owner.
And we've been talking imports, but what about the companies here trying to sell their stuff out?
Yeah.
The exporters.
Yeah, that's the other side of the coin. It becomes a domino effect. The U.S. puts tariffs on imports. Well, other countries don't just sit there. They often retaliate. They slap their own tariffs on American goods. So suddenly, U.S. farm products, maybe tech components, whatever it is, they become more expensive overseas, harder to sell. So those exporting businesses get hit too.
Okay, so this is all pretty complex on the business side. Let's shift a bit to something that that really resonates emotionally with a lot of people here. This idea of made in America, bringing manufacturing back. It sounds great. It feels patriotic. Everyone likes the idea, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a powerful slogan. It taps into something real. National pride, jobs. But then you look at the hard reality, like what would it actually take to bring everything back, 100% domestic manufacturing? The honest answer is it would likely mean much, much higher prices for you. For everybody. Think like a $4,000 smartphone or maybe an $80 t-shirt, seriously.
Okay, $4,000 for a phone. Wow. But hang on, why? If we're making it here, employing people here, why would it be so much more expensive? Isn't there an argument for, accepting some higher cost for jobs and security?
It's a valid point people raise, but the why is, well, it's deep. These global supply chains we have now, they weren't built overnight. They're incredibly intricate webs, decades of finding the most efficient place to make this part, source that material, assemble this component, to just, unravel all that and replicate it entirely within the US. It's not just moving a factory. It's recreating entire ecosystems, specialized skills, raw material access, logistics. It's massively complex and expensive.
And speaking of raw materials,
Yeah.
you mentioned that earlier. We can't just decide to make everything here because we don't have everything here.
Exactly that. That's a huge piece of it. Think about, say, rare earth metals, absolutely essential for all our modern tech, electronics, EVs, even military gear. Well, the U.S. just doesn't have large, easily accessible deposits of many of these. We rely heavily on other countries. China is a big one, the DRC and Africa for others. So you literally can't make a 100% made in America iPhone if the essential ingredients have to come from somewhere else.
It creates this really awkward situation, doesn't it? You even see people like Elon Musk trying to walk this line, arguing for open trade because, well, Tesla needs global parts and competitive tech for AI and EVs.
Yeah.
But at the same time, wanting to sound very pro-America, especially politically, it's a tricky balancing act.
It really is. And it means that you, the listener, you can kind of get caught in the middle. You hear the Buy American push, which sounds good, but then you look at the price tag or you realize the thing you need just isn't made here anyway. It highlights that gap between the political message and the economic reality on the ground.
Okay, so let's bring it all together. We've talked tariffs, businesses, supply chains, made in America. What does this tangled web actually mean for your daily life? How does it hit you?
Well, first and foremost, as a consumer, expect prices, especially on things like electronics, appliances, cars, anything with complex parts or tech inside. Those costs we talked about, they ripple through, and you'll likely see it on the price tag. Your money just might not go quite as far for certain goods.
And what if you're running a small business or thinking of starting one?
This isn't abstract at all. It's direct pressure. On your supply costs, definitely. On your profit margins. It might even affect whether you feel confident enough to hire someone new. That uncertainty we mentioned, it makes planning really hard.
Right. And what about people maybe looking to immigrate and start a business, or companies overseas wanting to partner with U.S. firms?
For them, the sheer unpredictability is a major hurdle. If trade rules can change dramatically based on, say, an election or a sudden policy shift, it makes it really risky to make big long-term investments or business plans involving the U.S. market. That lack of stability is a real challenge.
And you mentioned elections. Politically, this isn't going away, is it? Trade, tariffs. These seem like they're becoming hot topics again.
Definitely. We're already seeing it ramp up as talking points looking ahead to, say, 2028. And the reality is the next president, whoever it is, could easily shake things up all over again. New tariffs, old ones removed. It's a constantly shifting landscape.
So the pendulum keeps swinging.
Pretty much, which brings us back to the core idea, and that these trade issues, these wars, they're way more than just political chess games. They have very real, tangible effects on your money, your job, the things you can buy. It all connects.
Yeah, it's definitely a reminder that the simple slogans often hide a much more complicated economic reality.
Absolutely. And maybe here's a final thought to leave you with. Really understanding how these global systems work, how trade policy impacts things, it actually empowers you. It helps you look critically at the prices you're paying, sure, but also at the political promises you hear. Knowing this stuff helps you make more informed choices, both as a consumer buying things and just as a citizen trying to make sense of it all.